Good afternoon. It's afternoon. I always forget because we used to do this in the morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony Demakis, and we are in studio today. It's not Zoom, which makes me happy because the Zoom video stuff is great. I mean, it's video for y'all because we don't have a studio audience, which would be fun. We should do that.
Nice couches.
Yeah, we should have a studio audience. That would be fun. We've done that a couple times. We did that at the AMBA Emerging Leaders. We did that at NPE a few years ago. It was fun. It was good. Anyways, I digress. So, Manufacturing Alliance podcast. This is a place where you can learn all about U.S. manufacturing, what that looks like, the stories, the successes, the failures, what makes companies grow, what's hurting companies, what our challenges are. And every week we bring in another guest who is going through the same things we are, and we tell stories about what that looks like, what it looks like to be a manufacturer in the United States, sometimes globally, but we want to focus on the U.S. because that's where we are, and that's what it looks like. And so, who are we? Alliance is a company of mold makers that don't build molds. We do all the things that mold makers need. So polishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance. And we also have a full line of laser welding, laser engraving equipment made here in the Chicagoland area. So the benefit of that is we have all the parts. We have everything you need. And if one of our out-of-the-box solutions isn't right for you, we can do custom solutions based on your needs. Whether that's full automation, whether that's robotics, whether that's changing the laser source, we can work with you on it. And we want to work with you on it. We really don't have any events coming up right now, which is awesome. If you're looking for something to do, Scott Phipps and the team at United Tool and Mold are having a golf outing next Friday. It's to benefit iWarriors in South Carolina. Should be an awesome time. The guys at UTM are awesome. It's a great cause. So try and support them. There is also the molding conference coming up in November. That is the molding and mold making conference. There's two separate conferences in the same place, so you can take advantage of both of them. It's the 8th through the 10th in Charlotte. And the last one is the AMBA is having a shop tour with our friends at Influx. I'm not sure how you say it exactly, but it's a shop tour, and that's a great event. That's going to be in Ohio on November 9th, I think. We'll go with November 9th. That seems like a good date to do that. But today, we're going to be talking about a different part of manufacturing. We're going to be talking about 3D printing, additive manufacturing, and everything about that. What's growing, what's changing, what people need to know about, what parts are good for additive, what parts are not good for additive, and what the benefits to that technology is. So I'm excited today because I got a new friend with me. David is here. David Ramirez from
RE3DTECH.
RE3DTECH. It's hard when people put a letter or a number in the word. Letters are supposed to be.
I put the shirt on just so you wouldn't forget. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's good. That's good. But what's awesome is David and I didn't know each other till last Friday.
Hasn't even been a week yet.
Not even a week. Yeah, this is a new friendship. So either we're going to love each other or hate each other. We'll find out. But we were both at the TMA annual dinner. And I want to give a shout out to the TMA. They always do an awesome job of bringing the community together. Kent Gladish is amazing. Justine did a fantastic job putting it all together.
She was singing up there.
Did she sing?
You didn't see that?
I missed the singing.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it might have been after you left.
She
went up and sang.
She's got an album. Yeah, she's got an album on iTunes.
That girl can do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She plays acoustic guitar. She says there's no song that can't be played on an acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And she sings. She has a show, I'm going to say October 17th in Barrington. So if anybody wants to go see Justine,
shout out to her.
That's where you can find her.
Yeah.
But she did an amazing job. And the event overall was great.
Yeah.
And she did an awesome job putting us at the same table. And you were sitting next to Jeremy, and you guys hit it off talking about 3D printing and everything. And that's what that event is for networking and communicating and growing and just getting back out and having fun with people. So
yeah, definitely. So you guys are getting a 3D printer.
we are getting a 3D
Did you
printer.
take delivery of it?
It should be this week. It's I don't remember the brand. I'm kind of like they told me about it, but I'm on the outskirts of it. This will be our second metal 3D printer. The first one we had was a OR Coherent Creator that ended up just being a paperweight. It never worked.
I was going to ask, what have you guys done with it? But
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was a vending machine basically that didn't have anything good in it. It was terrible. It was a waste of space and time, but it is what it is. I should mention this. This show is live, so if you're watching, go ahead and put your name and your company in the chat, and we'll give you a shout out. It's all about marketing and brand recognition right now, and it's the easiest thing you can do. You don't even have to have a thought. If you do have a thought, that's great. You can put it in there, ask questions. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. But I see people are watching, so go ahead, put your name and company in the chat, and we'll talk about it. So, David, tell us what RE3DTECH is. That way people know what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so RE3DTECH is what we call a service bureau, service provider in the 3D industry, in the additive manufacturing landscape. So the goal is you send us a CAD model,
yep.
We 3D print it,
yep.
and ship it to your door. What makes RE3DTECH different is we specialize in production.
Okay. What does that mean? You specialize in production.
So when you do production, you're trying to make 1,000 of the same part, 5,000, 10,000. You need to do that as efficiently as possible
yep.
to be competitive, to have high quality standards. You need to be very meticulous with that process.
Yep.
So we don't just have 3D printers that we scrape the parts out of and put them in a box.
Right.
We post-process them. We offer color options. We offer surface finishes. We offer assembly. We want you to have a part that's ready to go, ready for the assembly line, ready to be used. We want to make end-use parts for our customers.
And that's
using additive manufacturing.
Wow. And that's one of those questions, right? At what point does somebody go, I'm going to build an injection mold for this, or they're going to use an additive process?
Yeah, so there's a point where, well, let me phrase it this way. Additive manufacturing, for the most part, is going to have it's going to have a flat price for a part, any given part. The more you make, you might have a slight advantage because some of the efficiencies you can create in the process. But it's just a flat line. Where with injection molding, when you do low volume, the cost per part goes way up, right?
Yeah.
So at some point you cross that line where you are less, your price per part is less with injection molding than it is with additive.
Yep.
So it really comes down to math a lot of the time. It's not just price. That tends to be the driver for everything, but there are a lot of benefits to using additive, especially when it comes to weight reduction, specific materials that you want to use that you wouldn't be able to machine or produce any other way.
Sure.
So yeah, there's technical benefits to using additive, not just when I do low volume, I'm going to do it additively. When I do high production, it's injection molding. There's other things that should be taken into account too.
Because there's a lot of people that don't realize that, right? They think, I'm going to make this new product. I'm going to go to market. I'm going to start out low volume. I only need 100 of them. How do I do that? And you can't build a plastic injection mold for 100 parts.
Correct.
It's just
it's could. Be really expensive.
But each part is going to be like $1,000.
And then good luck finding someone to do that.
Right.
That's going to take that job on and be like, they might laugh. They might hang up on you.
Right. You can't even mold 100 parts because that's the, you're molding thousands of parts before you even get to
the final
part, because you have to keep ramping up the machine and get your process dialed and everything else. And so to me, that's the beautiful thing with additive is you can go to market with a product that that you're still trying to figure out. You can
Yeah.
prototype it. You can figure out all the kinks and work through those things and be able to just make parts and start selling parts to customers right away.
Yeah, it's good. We see a lot of startups.
Yep.
A lot of companies that have an idea, they're trying to put something together, bring something new to market, and it's just a low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Come up with a CAD, send it to us, we'll give you a quote, pay with a credit card, and you get a part.
And you're done.
And you're done.
Yeah.
But also for established companies, it's low cost R&D.
Yep.
Come up with an idea, have it made.
Yep.
You know, you're spending money all over the place. Why not, you know, put a little bit towards new product development, especially with how fast it is.
You have parts in a day.
In a day, right, or a few days.
Well, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, it depends on what it is for sure.
We've got a what do I remember what Jeremy said? Is it a MakerBot 3D printer?
The metal one?
No, not the metal one. We've got a resin. I guess it's like a resin. 3D printer right now that we use it whenever we're making new parts for our ID1, for our laser welding machines or the engravers, to prototype it all out. So our first model or our first version of our new laser engraving head was all 3D printed. Yeah. So that we know where everything is going to go, where the different housings need to go, how the knobs are going to fit together, how it's going to mount to the machine. And it's a working part. Right? That machine is actually on our show floor, and it's got a 3D printed head. It's got, you know, a bunch of parts that are 3D printed, and it just allows you to do that in a way where you're not guessing. You're not having to machine out this big aluminum block. Mm-hmm. You can 3D print it, make sure everything is what you want, and if it's not, you can make changes instantly.
Exactly.
To the part, and then print another one.
That's another thing with the tooling. You're not committed to that design.
Right.
Is whenever you feel the need to make a change, when it's out in the market, you've learned something, you go to the CAD model, you make the changes, boom. The next day, you're making the new version of it. Yeah.
And you have one, and you can test them against each other. If you don't like the new one, you go back to the old model, and it's not rocket science to be able to do it.
And it's only getting better too.
Yeah.
I mean, with plastics, it's almost neck and neck, I think, as far as the quality of the part that you're getting. With metals, it'll take a few more years to get there, but it's getting better. Yep. There's a lot of money being poured into this right now. It's moving really quickly. It's an exciting place to be, honestly.
I remember, I want to say it was 5 years ago, we went to the molding conference in California. And it was really the first time I started learning about additive. They had a whole additive section that they were talking at. And I remember Scott Kramer and Dana McCollum at the time, they were from Carbon, were speaking. And I was blown away by the carbon technology. Now they're over at Mantle. And they were the only people that I heard speak at that conference that were not basically threatening the plastic injection mold industry. Yeah. So all these companies were coming up saying, we have a farm, we can make parts faster than you. You better get on board. We're going to leave you in the dust. And I could see all the fighting words. Yeah. Yeah. And if you know anything about mold makers and molders, this is blue collar, we build molds. We take pride in this. And you're sitting here telling us that you're going to take over our jobs. Yeah. And it was like you said, fighting words. And Dana and Scott came out and they were like, listen, we come from mold making backgrounds. This is a way to help you deliver a prototype to your customer in a way that's going to help you to be more efficient, to deliver parts quicker, to give them exactly what they want. Let us be your partner in doing this together. And I was like, these people get it.
Yeah.
They get it. They know how to talk to an audience. How do you guys fit in with that model when it comes to, obviously you're not trying to compete with the mold maker. How has that relationship been with you in that kind of arena?
So before this year, it was we were exclusively an additive manufacturer.
Okay.
Before this year, so we are going head to head with injection molding sort of at that point. The MJF system from HP has been really, really good for us.
That's an awesome machine.
Yeah, you've seen the parts. It makes super high quality parts, but it's all about capturing that range of volume that I was talking about earlier. where it just makes sense. It just makes sense to do additively. However, this year, the private equity company that owns us acquired another company, GoProto, where they do 80% traditional manufacturing, injection molding, CNC machining, sheet metal, and about 20% additive. So we're bringing a lot of additive experience to the table. They're bringing traditional experience to the table. And now we get to offer the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So we get to be like that one-stop shop for what you were just talking about.
Right.
We start with additive. It's a low barrier to entry. We help you develop the part.
It's brilliant.
Walk you right on through to injection molding.
Yeah. And then you have the mold basically designed. You have the part designed. There's a little bit of changes I'm assuming you got to make when you go from additive to traditional mold making. But again, it's that one-stop shop. We've already developed a process for you. We know what this looks like. We know what your needs are. Let us just continue it through. Yeah. And when you get to those volumes, we're ready.
We're still coming together. We haven't really fleshed out the way we're going to work together. Like we're in the middle of it right now. We're in the middle of merging. Yeah. We're going to have a new name. We're going to have a new logo. We're going to be in a completely different brand. And that's really exciting too. Yeah. So just be patient with us. We can take things on now, but we haven't created the systems where we want to innovate and make the best customer experience possible.
Yeah. If you guys are listening and you have any questions about additive or 3D printing or what that looks like, put it in the chat. We'd love to know your thoughts. That's really what the show is for. It's not just for me to hear stuff, but for us to try and educate. What are you finding as far as we talked a little bit about talking to kids in schools? What is the interest level of students? Because I mean, right now they're doing some of this in schools. A lot. So how is that looking for introducing, junior high school kids to the idea of manufacturing, which is something everybody's trying to figure out how to do?
Man, like we literally have kids show up at our office with resumes in hand.
Really?
Yeah, straight up. We have kids that come up to us at trade shows. For a while, when I had redone our Google ad campaigns. Okay. And so you start off with a wide net, and then you kind of refine it, right? So we were getting a lot of kids calling us because they Googled like 3D printing or whatever. We show up and they're calling us, "Hey, my printer's not working. Can you guys help me fix it?" So, I mean, we see a lot of it. It's exciting for the generations to come. It's so easy to understand what is happening too. Right. It doesn't take a rocket science to work a 3D printer.
It's basically like an inkjet printer, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You design something, you hit print, you come back, you got a part.
Do you need to understand the ins and outs? Maybe at our level,
of course,
because we're working mission critical applications and stuff like that. Yep. Quality expectations are there, but it's just so much fun to play with too. Any idea that you come up with, and you see so many people starting businesses where. Like, there's this one guy that makes figurines. He makes, like, anime figurines. He makes the design, puts it online, someone orders it, he has it made, has it shipped to the customer. Done. Yeah. And we get orders from this guy every week. It's just amazing to see people just hustling like that.
And it's just going to keep growing. It's going to keep changing. And with that, I know you guys have the 3D printer, I'm guessing, where... If he designs it in color, you can print different colors and have it done. It's just it's a finished action figure ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, when you do that, are the parts all movable, or is it a statue?
They can be movable. It just takes a lot more design work
to build all the joints.
Yeah, to build the joints at the right tolerances. Because if they're too close, the printer will fuse everything together. Right. So you have to leave just enough room. If you get it down, you can constantly make them. Yeah. But it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes.
That's so cool.
But you can totally make moving parts, like parts that are chained together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
It's so cool. It's such a cool technology.
And the machine doesn't care. Like, you can make the craziest part. The machine is going to be like, all right.
Yeah.
It's the same as the last one.
The machine doesn't go, oh, that's too complicated. I can't wrap my head around
exactly.
That. It just goes, okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Layer by layer, it'll just keep doing it. So when it comes to what do people need to know when they're sending parts in to be made? Are there limitations?
There are limitations, size limitations.
Yeah.
You can only make a part so big. There are big printers out there. We have access to some of them. So it depends. There are material limitations. You can't just think of a composite or an alloy and have something printed out of it.
Yep.
The industry is not there yet. I think it will be at one point where you can really fine-tune a material to a certain alloy. You have the powder or the filament, and then have your part 3D printed. That's going to be really cool. Geometrically, there's some things you don't want to do. Wall thicknesses,
Sure.
Sharp edges, or like 90-degree edges, or corners, things like that.
Yep.
But luckily, when you send a part to us, we have the ability to look it over.
Dig in and see what needs to be changed, what needs to be adjusted. And
the last thing we want is to send you a part that's going to break, that breaks during our process. Then we have to start all over. Then you don't get your part till a week out. It's just better get that done up front.
How long have y'all been in business?
I think this will be our 6th year.
Okay.
I want to say. Yeah.
All right.
We started out in Grays Lake in a little office. Jim Toiber, you didn't meet him at the dinner.
No.
He couldn't go. But no, you know what? He was here.
He came with us.
Yeah. He started the company with a partner, Russell Beck, and they started with one Mark Forge printer. It was just about this big, sitting on a desk, and they had an office, and they just
opened the doors and said, we're printing parts.
We're printing parts. Started advertising online. Orders started coming in slowly, and now here we are.
And now you have how many printers in the farm? You guys call it a farm? I know people call it a farm.
Yeah, I suppose you can. You can call it a farm.
Because you grow parts, you don't make parts, I guess.
I want to say altogether close to 40.
Okay.
40 printers of different varieties,
Yeah.
different kinds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how many people are on the team?
With GoProto combined, I want to say we're over 50 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
so a lot of design work going on.
Decent sized company. There's a lot of infrastructure stuff coming together right now.
Sure.
That's what we're focused on right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I have these fun little cards. I like to ask questions sometimes. Let's see. What do you consider yourself an expert at?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good
math.
one. Math?
I'm a math expert.
Ooh,
I tutor all the way up to calculus.
Okay.
I still remember calculus. Well, it helps when you practice it, when you teach people.
Yeah.
So I would consider myself an expert at that.
Nice. My son is getting in trouble from his teacher right now because they've changed high school where there's summative scores and formative scores. And so if he does all of his homework, it will affect his grade by 10%. If he doesn't do any of his homework, it affects his grade by 10%. And he's good in math. And so he says, I'm not going to waste my time doing the homework. I already know it. I get 95 to 98 on all the tests.
Yeah.
I got other things I want to do. So I'm going to get an A in the class or B plus at the worst. Why am I going to spend hours doing the homework?
Yeah.
And so the teacher is frustrated with him because she says there's certain people in this class that don't apply themselves, and it's frustrating when they ace all the tests and don't do the homework. He's just like, ah. But if he's struggling with something, he does the homework so he can learn it, so he can get better at it.
That's honestly
that's what homework should be, right?
Yeah,
it should be the training for the test,
because
not busy work.
In real life, you don't want to do work just to do work.
Right.
It takes time and energy. So work efficiently, I guess. If your goal is just to pass the class with a decent grade, I guess he's accomplishing his goal.
Yeah,
he's a goal-oriented kid.
A and B's, I can't complain as a father. You're getting A's and B's. You know, if he games the system at the same time, that's not on me. That's
an extra lesson.
Yeah, the
because
teacher.
I tutor, right? So I see sometimes how the mind of a kid works, and when they don't think like that, they don't think for themselves. They're just waiting to take instructions always.
Right.
And so at least he's a self-starter. You know?
He's definitely a self-starter. The other side of it is, I feel like sometimes, and this is where I say, what do you want to talk about? And you say whatever you want. I feel like sometimes schools give kids too much busy work, and all they teach them is you work all day. So you go to school from 7 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You go home and you got 3 to 4, 5 hours of homework. Then you're gonna have dinner. You're gonna finish your homework, and then you're gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is training people to expect that for the rest of their lives, and that is no way to live. Like when you go home, do you want to work for another 4 hours?
Nope.
And so we're expecting all these kids to do this. So when I look at my son who's doing that, I go, he accomplished his work. Now, if you suck at your job and you dilly-dally all day and you're not a good employee, you may have to go home and do 4 hours of work.
Yes.
He's just going, I'm going to pay attention while I'm here. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to go home and I'm going to do me. That's how life should be.
That's how life should be, right? That's why we're here.
Right, exactly.
We don't have to work every hour of the day. I mean, this does count as work, but we're just talking about how cool this is.
Yeah. And so I think that school needs to focus on those things, right? Like have kids do homework when it's necessary. When they couldn't get the work done at school, give it to them to take home. Because that's what I want. I mean, I know a lot of the people that work for us now, they are in a mindset where, they want to work, but they want to enjoy their life. That's why they work. Right?
Yeah.
Not just to work.
I think the school system is sort of in like what would you call it? I think they've just tried to refine that system so much that they've sort of just made it like a factory. The most efficient way to teach all these kids, because we have too many of them or whatever.
Right.
The teachers don't have enough time. It's hard to find good teachers. There's a million reasons why they created those systems. And now the systems are just teaching kids the things that we're talking about that aren't necessarily ideal for real life.
It's not going to, they're in my opinion, schools aren't teaching as much problem solving and critical thinking. It's just do the homework because I said so. Do it this way because I said so. Not, here's the problem, here's the situation, solve it, but do this. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
So you have one son, is that?
No, my son is 16 and my daughter is 13. She's in middle school.
And you let them go to public school?
I do, yeah. We think it's important to, we talked about it. My daughter has struggled in middle school. She thinks it's the depths of hell. I'm just being honest. And she's never going to watch this. And it's a weird environment. And, she struggled for a little bit. And we talked about, does it make sense to pull her out and either do homeschooling or some sort of private school? And what we realized was you're going to have trouble in your life wherever you go. And you can't just quit that situation or find a way to make it easier. You have to deal with hearing things that you don't want to hear, learning things you don't necessarily want to learn, and tolerate different things. And you can't just have an escape and a quit every time things get rough. So we thought it was really important to give her the foundation that we want to at home, and also hear what the world is saying and teaching, so that she can be in the middle of that and know how to defend her beliefs and her thoughts and her personality. So, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the school system is they're not operating the way we would ideally want them to, right? So, what's the solution? Do we even want to go down that road right now?
I mean, I think it's fun conversation. I don't have a solution. If I had a solution, I'd run for a school board or something. But I don't think they'd want my opinions. Vanessa's saying no. See, they wouldn't want my.
They still
opinions.
Need you here.
But I think it's critical thinking, right? Yeah. I think when you have those schools that I've heard them. I talked to a guy, and he was saying that he basically got kicked out of teaching because what he would do is he would start the year and give the kids a problem that they needed to solve, and then help them develop the processes and the understanding of how to solve a problem critically.
Yep.
And different kids would come up with different solutions, and there was no one answer. It was just like, let's explore this. Let's have some parts printed. Let's do this. Let's develop a system based on what actually is going to solve problems, not just a cookie cutter answer.
Yeah, it's tough to change the whole system too.
It's
so big at this point, and there's so much money involved that people aren't going to want to change.
But I know my daughter went from loving school, wanting to play school, wanting to be a teacher, to getting to 6th grade hating school. And part of that was 5th grade to 6th grade was all COVID. Mm-hmm. So you lose a little momentum there. Then you come back and everything is different.
Yeah.
Teaching is different. Lunch tables are different. Gym class is different. People forgot how to act in school. They forgot what life was like. And what's really interesting is I volunteer in our kids program at church, and we got kids that are, kindergarten through 3rd grade. Well, those kindergarten and 1st graders, this is their first year of real school. Mm-hmm. So they don't know how to do gym class. They don't know how to sit and listen. They don't know how to raise their hand. They don't know all of these social constructs that have been created because they've done school at home for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so they don't know. And so it's a whole different learning experience and trying to teach kids something new. So it's interesting. It's interesting right now to see what's going on with different kids and everything else.
I think the school systems are on the decline. I think something's going to come along, and we're going to have a reset in the way people are educated, I think. And
I hope so.
Yeah, in a good way. But speaking of COVID, how is COVID for you guys here as a business?
As a business, it's still going, right? We had a person out last week. I got a guy out this week. I think we did a really good job managing it and maintaining it. We pretty early on, we kind of let people make decisions on how they were going to, conduct themselves, whether they felt like they should wear a mask or do whatever they wanted. We feel very strongly on having connection and community, and working isolated at home. Although it's functional, it's not optimal, right? Because you get so much more when you can build a relationship face to face, when you can talk to people and work through problems and identify that. It sounds crazy, but our business has grown every year. COVID was just...
Including 2020. So you guys stayed open?
We didn't close it all. Yeah. That was the first thing we did, is I would sit at my dining room table and I would watch the Trump conference and hear all the stuff that was going on and what people were saying. And while that was on, I was Googling how to be an essential company and what that looked like. And I was talking to the guys at TMA, and I was talking to the guy, Mark Densler from the IMA, and I was asking all of them, like, what do I have to do to keep the doors open so we can be essential? And he was like, you need letters from your customers saying that they're in the food and beverage and the medical industry, and they need you to stay open to make parts. And I was like, okay. So we sent out letters. We had all these letters. We had them all taped to the door in case the police or anybody came to ask why we were open. But that was a huge focus for us, is we need to stay open. We need to serve our customers. We need to keep people employed. We need to be able to feed the people that work here and count on us for their livelihood.
Yeah.
And we did, and we grew every year along the way. And I think it made our team closer because there wasn't any like, I quit, I'm out. Like, nobody played the game. I was amazed that nobody played the game.
That's cool. This is where his son gets it. This is like, what do I need to do to accomplish this?
Mm-hmm. And that's really what it boils down to, man. And that's business, right? How was COVID for you guys?
So I wasn't at RE3D.
Okay, what were you doing before that?
I was an application engineer for a Swiss company. We made plugs and seals for hydraulic, pneumatic systems. So we were obviously, well, not obviously, but we were deemed essential because we made components for aerospace, medical. Yeah. We actually got some COVID work. Ventilators need plugs.
Yep.
They need seals.
Yep.
So we got a little bit of a bump in revenue because of COVID.
Nice.
And then after 2020, then I joined RE3D in 2021.
Okay.
So
it's amazing how it keeps going.
COVID?
Yeah.
I think
It's just sick now.
What do you mean?
It's like getting sick. You got a cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of calmed down, which I'm very glad. I know for people it affected everybody differently. Some people, they were in the hospital. It was bad. I'm not minimizing it. For me, I've been very blessed and fortunate that every time I've had it, it's been twice. It feels like I have a cold.
Yeah.
And
same.
It's not a bad thing for me. For other people, it's awful. I'm sorry. Yeah. But it is what it is. But COVID was one of those things where I was trying, and I kept trying to get a magazine or a newspaper or whoever to write a story that would explain this is where 3D printing would have been fantastic, right? The process that goes into creating a test or anything, right? You have to identify the problem. Once you identify the problem, now you have to start finding solutions and problem solving that. And so once you come up with a solution, now you have to test the solution. Once you test the solution, now you have to develop the product to fix the solution. Once you develop the product, you have to build the product and engineer the product and have the product made so that you can actually go to market with it. And what was fascinating to me is how many people thought, there's a problem, where's the solution?
Yeah.
How come we don't have a solution yet? Well, because nobody knew. It takes years to go to market with a product. And this was asking people to go from nothing to something overnight. And it was impossible, especially for the volume of stuff that you're looking to do. Because, 1,000 tests isn't going to do anybody any good for anything.
Right.
You need hundreds of thousands, millions of tests. And you got to know what you're even looking for. And so my thought was, I wish some magazine would have talked about how manufacturing in the United States was able to step up and what the process actually looks like and why we need people to join the field and how it made such a difference in those 2-3 years, and why people need to consider it a valuable and a viable career path, because it's necessary and it's mandatory. And people did amazing, miraculous things in those years. And I feel like, you would hear about like a Miller stopped making beer and they were making hand sanitizer.
Yeah. GM, they were making ventilators. They were assembling them, at least. GM and Ford.
And they made those transitions. And I think they told some of the story, but I think that there are so many unsung heroes and stories that could have been told that can probably still be told in a way that makes people go, yeah, I want to be part of that. Mm-hmm. I want to be part of that industry that actually saved people's lives and made a difference and had an impact. And they didn't just say, well, we're closing up, we're going to take our PPP money and, stay home. They went and they worked and they made a difference and they made parts and they helped society to be better and healthier.
In a time too where, especially in the beginning, it was unknown how bad you might be affected by this thing, right? Imagine, shout out to everyone who signed up for that to work during those times. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be around people. It doesn't matter if I get sick. I don't know how bad this might affect me. It could be one of those situations where I end up in the hospital, or it could be just a cold. But I'm going to go in and do my job because other people need me.
Right.
Like the nurses, the doctors that were showing up to work every day, people making ventilators, making hand sanitizer, all those people. That story, I don't think they harped on it enough. It was all just to scare everybody because we need everyone to do these things to stay safe. But no one highlighted this story of the hero.
We needed a Mike Rowe, right? Like Mike Rowe could have got this story told. So Mike Rowe's never going to listen to this. That's fine. But those stories should be out there, and they should still be going. There should be new stories every day that comes out and talks about how manufacturing is making a difference, whatever that is. Whether it's pick any random medical company that we have a guy here. He works in our mold repair department, and his wife had a stroke or a medical condition. And so he had to take her to the hospital. While he was at the hospital, he was sitting in the room with her, and he's looking around. He's like, we worked on this. We worked on the parts for the IV. We worked on the parts for this. And then he had this aha moment that, oh, my job is not just fix plastic injection mold.
Yeah.
My job is saving lives. Because if there's something wrong with these parts, it's not going to work. This person's going to die. And so what we do actually matters. And there's a big realization there. And I don't think that story is being told enough.
I didn't really watch the news, so I don't know if it was or wasn't, but it was very minimal at least, right? I didn't.
Yeah, anything positive was minimal.
Right. So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Now that like we're down this road, is we're here when we have a media outlet that we can control.
Yes.
And the media was in control the whole time during the pandemic. I thought it was going to bring us closer together as a country, as a community, because we're in a situation where we kind of need to rely on each other. We have to help each other. Similar to 9/11, I was a kid.
I was thinking that.
You know, when 9/11 happened, but everybody came together.
Yeah.
There's American flags everywhere.
Yep.
And I heard someone say I would never wish for another 9/11, but I would give anything for a 9/12. Like the day after, where everyone was really, you know, trying to help each other out, trying to uplift each other, as opposed to tear each other down and say your idea doesn't fit my idea, so we're not going to work together. We're not going to try and help each other.
I think we're in a place right now where it's so far polar opposites.
Yeah.
And even 9/11, not everybody liked George Bush. Not everybody liked W. But the country was still able to be united. And I think right now, because politics has become like a sport, it's my team versus your team. It's Packers versus Bears. The Bears fans are never going to say anything nice about Aaron Rodgers. He's a fantastic quarterback, but I hate the guy. He's very, very talented, and he seems to make amazing plays, and I don't know how, but I don't like the guy. And I think that's how politics has been. And now it's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. It's everywhere. Like, when I was growing up, I could give a rip about politics. Like, no way am I going to watch a debate. No way am I going to watch a general session of Congress. No way am I going to watch a school board meeting on YouTube. Are you kidding me? And now there's so much anger and frustration in the world that it's become a TV show. It's become a reality TV show over I'm right and you're wrong, instead of and what's missing is the people are not being cared for. There's no serving people. It's my way or the highway. It's my team versus your team, and it's ugly.
Not good times right now, and I think sadly I think it's in the hands of the wrong people.
Sure.
But with media outlets like this, I think we can start changing the narrative for the better. And giving people an alternative source of where am I going to form my ideas? Where am I going to get my information? Yeah.
And it's so funny. I love talking about everything. What's interesting to me is how what you hear is what you know, I guess is what I'll say. So
basically, right.
I was in New Orleans this past summer. We went on a missions trip and we were hanging out there, and I met a guy. His name is Tyrone. He's 23, 24 years old. And we were in the inner city of New Orleans. So it was Center City, Castle Rock Church, Urban Impact. It was amazing. It was a great opportunity to go. And I was talking to Tyrone, and I said, let me ask you, why do people stay in the neighborhood? What is it? Like, it looks like you want to get out. It looks like people are not happy here. Why do they stay? Mm-hmm. And he said, Tony, there's no opportunity. And I said, what do you mean there's no opportunity? Explain that to me. He's like, there's no jobs. I was like, what do you mean there's no jobs? Yeah. Explain that to me. He's like, well, I can't find work. I don't know of any jobs. I said, now, do you know there's no jobs, or are you told there's no jobs? Because those are two different things.
Right.
And so I was sitting with him, and I went on LinkedIn, and I put in like manufacturing in New Orleans, and there's 30 pages of jobs. Now, don't tell me that there's no opportunity. Everybody I know in any spectrum of work, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's service, whether it's whatever, is looking for people, and not qualified people.
Just humans.
Just humans that don't suck at life. And even if you suck at life a little bit, you're still hireable. So this idea that there's no work, there's no opportunity is just it's a false narrative that
every chart that I look at says that we have more job openings than people.
Yes.
Right?
Every conference you go to, the number one need is the labor force. That's what everybody wants to talk about. But what does that look like? And so, I left that conversation with Tyrone thinking, people just don't know what they don't know. If you're being told there's no job for you, nobody's going to hire you, all you believe is there's no job for me, nobody's going to hire me.
Right.
When the reality is, if somebody would just look online, do a simple search, you can get a job doing whatever you want. I mean, I don't want anybody to quit, but you can get a job doing whatever you want. This is the time for people to get jobs. They don't have to feel stuck. I hope nobody feels stuck. If you're listening to this and you feel stuck, you should explore your options. I mean, your employer might hate me, but really, if you feel stuck and you don't like the culture and you don't like your job and you don't like what you're doing, this is the time to find a job that you love.
Everyone's looking for people, so you're going to be a sought out after individual.
Yeah.
If you put your name out there, just because there's such a high demand.
Yeah.
Simply because of that.
This will be I'm going to tee this one up. Next week we have Clint Pulver, and Clint is a guy I met at the AMBA conference. He's an author. He's a public speaker. He is an amazing drummer, which is part of his presentation. So Clint believes in making sure that you're treating people the way that you should be treating them. And one of his books, he actually it was like Undercover Boss but it was like Undercover Employee. And I'm sure we'll talk about it with Clint, but this is just spoiler. He would go into these companies as a potential hire. And he would talk to the employees in the company and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting a job here. What is it like? And get the stories from the people that were working there, not the culture that everybody touts, but really asking the guy on the machine, I'm thinking about getting a job here. Would you recommend that? And seeing what people think, and then going back to the ownership and sharing that story.
Cool.
and being able to tell it. And it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if your people are not happy unless they come and tell you. And if they do, you got to do something about it. And so Clint will be on next week. I can't wait. Clint's an awesome dude. I wish I had.
Where'd you meet him?
AMBA conference.
Oh yeah.
And I saw him afterwards, and all the things he was saying just resonated so much with me. And just the idea of how you treat people. How you treat people matters. Whether that's during a pandemic, out of a pandemic, at work, at the store, driving your car. How you treat people matters, and it's a big deal. Oh, look at this, Richard Evans, my man. Richard Evans, RDS, thank you for keeping me hydrated. He says, joining late, and I missed a lot. Well, you can go back and watch it later. It's okay.
Yeah, Rich, it's cool.
Curious, does RE3DTECH handle the design of conformal cooled mold inserts or only print-to-supplied models? Are there any simulations involved to show cycle time reductions?
Ooh, great question.
Yeah, Richard Evans is the man. He should just be an all-time co-host because he actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Rich. Currently, we do not. It is something that we know we're going to need, especially because we want to supply both additive and traditional methods of manufacturing, and that's something. It's sort of a step in between. Is that design of molds? In some ways, 3D printing isn't there yet. in some ways. There are companies working on it. The trick is going into production.
Sure.
Production it's easy to make one part and spend spend a lot of time making it.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So to be competitive, to compete against the other ways these things are being made right now, technology has to be there. So it's still getting there.
It's still getting there, but conformal cooling is one of those things that I'm sure the new parent company is going to be very interested in, because that's where 3D printing in especially the plastic injection world is going to be a whole different animal, because they're trying to add more water channels. They're trying to keep the part from overheating. They're trying to cool it quicker. The only way to do that is to have the channels in the tool. You can't do that in traditional manufacturing. So, Richard, are you offering to design for them? So Richard is part of Reaction Plastic Solutions, RPS, and his whole job is designing tools, designing molds. He's not a mold builder there. His company just designs. He's an outsourced design agent. So maybe I know you're really busy, Richard. You can't see, but I'm looking right at you. You should call David and see if y'all can help out and get some of that done. But it's a very cool technology, the conformal cooling, and I think 3D printing additive for the plastic injection space and traditional mold making, it's still new. Mm-hmm. They're still trying to figure things out. I know there's a couple companies that are at the forefront of that, really trying to solidify their space.
The printer will make what you tell it to make, but then to get the surface or where the part is going to be made down to a real smooth finish. Making a really hefty metal part additively is super expensive. It's a lot of material. It's a lot of power if it's like a laser system. So there's still things where the technology has to find efficiencies in to lower the cost of doing this. But it's doable. It's doable now. It's just not competitive yet.
Of course you do. He says, Richard says, always happy to help. We have conformal cooling experience and sim capabilities. So
awesome. We'll have to connect. Send me a connection invite.
He teed up the question so that he could sell it. See what he did there? That's a smart man, that Richard Evans. He's a good guy. No, thank you, Richard. I'm glad that you were able to ask that question and jump on. So we got like 4 minutes-ish, 6 minutes, around there. I can do math. I can do a little bit of math. And we always end our show with prayer requests, because I think that's really, really important, and it's something that actually matters. So if you are listening to the show, go ahead and put in the chat whatever your prayer request is, and we will mention that. We'll see if anything comes in.
I love that. I love that you do that.
Yeah. It's my show. I can do what I want.
Yeah. Amen to that.
So, if people don't like it, you could shut off the last 5 minutes. It's fine.
I really like that about the TMA dinner too. Is we did a prayer before.
Yeah. Are you part of the Christians in Manufacturing with TMA?
No.
Yeah, you should be on part of that.
Okay.
It's they got a breakfast in November. I think it's in November. I'll give you the dates. I'm trying to make Justine play, but we'll see. But it's a good breakfast. Alex Hoffer will be the main speaker. Alex Hoffer from Hoffer Plastics. Awesome guy. If you don't know Alex Hoffer, he's an awesome guy. And Timothy Stoll is, I don't know if it's the president of the board, head of the board, in charge, whatever. Timothy Stoll's in charge of that chair, that group.
That group.
My brain shut off. But it's a good breakfast. It's a good thing to go to. There's usually,
I had no idea that TMA had a.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, sign me up, Justine, if you're watching.
She's not watching. But it's great. David, any prayer requests?
Let's see. I don't like to be selfish with my prayer, so for our community, our manufacturing community. so they stay safe, and hopefully that we stay on this growth path that I've seen recently. I mean, with our companies are growing tremendously. So manufacturing back to the States is, I think, something that we need. So
it's a whole nother hour.
put that in the prayer request.
Yeah, that'd be a whole nother hour of conversation, but it's something necessary, and it's
kind of vital because another country could just shut off essential components. To vital equipment like ventilators.
Or all of the chips that everybody needs to make all the things. Like,
exactly.
Try driving past a car dealership. It's so sad. It's
the parking lots used to be full.
We had every year we have the golf outing. They give us this awesome car to put out there, whether it's a new Jeep or something, Volkswagen Touareg or some. This year was like a Nissan Altima. I was like, nobody even wants to win a Nissan Altima. This is all you have on the lot. I mean, I was still grateful that they gave us something, but it just made me laugh that like all the years past, you got Corvette, a new Bug, like something. And I was like, what? Yeah. But there's no cars. Like we went to the Kia dealership in Libertyville because we know Liberty Auto Plaza in Libertyville. They're friends of ours. And so we went to the Kia dealership and we walked into the showroom. They had no cars in the showroom and 2 new cars on the lot. They can't get any cars. The guy said that he sold 3 cars that day. All of them were cars that weren't on the lot. They were like pre-selling them.
Dang.
Because they can't get the chips from wherever they are. It's crazy.
Yeah. We're in the right place. So
we are. Yeah.
We can make a difference.
That's the key. So I'm going to pray, and then we'll see if we have any other questions you want to ask. So Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to meet David. Thank you for the dinner we went to and the networking and the community and the relationships that you call us to have. And we just pray that you would continue to bless everybody that's listening and the organizations that are growing and trying to make a difference and making an impact and affecting lives and doing their part. We just pray that you would watch over us, that you would keep us safe, that you would give us wisdom, and that through all of it, your will would be done. And whether we're in a high or a low or a mountain or a valley, that we would know that you're in charge and find comfort in that whatever season we're going through, you are the director and the boss and in charge, and it'll work the way you want it to, and just help us to understand that. And we give you all the glory, and that's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's do a quick one. Let's see how fast we can get through these. We got like a minute and a half. We did that one. What is the thing that influences your decisions?
God.
Yes, I like it. If you were a boss of many, would you want them to fear you or love you?
Love me.
Nice. Who is the best boss you ever had, and what made them the best?
Right now, it's a tie between my old boss, Brian Sliker, and Jim, my new boss.
That's safe.
Jim's got to earn just that. It's 1A and 1B right now, but Jim's one of my favorite bosses of all time.
Awesome. What is an upcoming life event that you are most excited about?
Upcoming life event? My birthday.
When is that?
The 22nd of October.
Awesome.
There's good UFC fights that night. So.
You're a UFC fan?
Yeah.
Nice. Who do you like?
I like Sugar Sean.
Okay.
He's fighting that on that card, and I think Islam Makhachev.
Okay.
He's fighting that night too, so it's going to be a good card.
You know, in fairness, I haven't watched anything since Conor broke his leg. I like Conor for Conor's attitude and his swagger. Not that I agree with everything he says, but just that gumption and that like.
He's my favorite fighter. Yeah,
he's just exciting, and I think I think a lot of athletes are just boring, whether it's UFC or football or whatever. And you know, he hasn't been able to back it up in a while. But just that attitude and swagger, like,
I think he's drinking too much beer right now. I don't think
the beer and the whiskey, a little too much proper. But he's huge. Have you seen him?
Yeah,
he's a monster.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's clean, but he's a monster right now.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Last one. What is the main quality you think makes a great parent?
Great parent. Oof. That's a tough one. Without thinking too much, makes a great parent. I'm going to say two things.
Okay.
Good listener and
Okay.
discipline.
Yeah. I would say those are the same things that make a good boss.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Parent is a boss.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think the one thing that you also have to add in that, so I think good listener is good. I think discipline is good. But I also think understanding that your kid is going to make mistakes and that you've been in that same spot. And I am far from perfect human being, and I make plenty of mistakes. And I'm glad when I have some forgiveness in my life and a little bit of leniency. So the discipline is there, the corrective action is there. But I also think being able to talk through what made that an issue is more important than having an iron fist.
Mm-hmm,
But yeah, I think loving your kid is what I would say. We had a friend of ours who was having a kid, and they said, Tony, what's the one piece of advice that you would give me before the baby comes? And I said, love your kid. And he was like, well, that's obvious. And I said, no, it's not. There are people that tolerate their kids, and they would be sad if something happened to them, but they don't actually love their kids. Like, it's a much deeper thing to love your kid and want to do whatever you can for your kid. And I think that translates into the rest of your life if you do that properly. But to me, being a good parent is like loving your kid, that sacrificial loving, that everything else. So thanks for answering.
Well, it sounds
question.
like you're doing a good job. It sounds like your kids are doing good.
They're good kids. I credit my wife with most of it.
Shout out to her. What's her name?
Kelly.
Shout out to you, Kelly.
Yeah, she's doing a good job. She's awesome. Hour and 2 minutes. I don't know how you do this in 30 minutes when you do your show. So, David has a podcast. What's your podcast?
RE3DTECH podcast. You can find us on RE3DTECH.com, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, RE3DTECH. RE3DTECH.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate
you for having me, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, TMA, for the dinner. You made this happen.
Yes.
Thanks, Justine, for the table seating. I'm so glad that I waited till the day before to put my order in, to sign up. No, I didn't even sign up till the day before. Justine was not happy with me, but it worked out, because if I would have done it sooner, we would have been at a different table. We wouldn't have hung out. And today would not have happened the way it did. So God knew what he was doing. I just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to everybody listening. We appreciate your support. If you found this at all entertaining or informative, please share it with somebody. Like us, follow us, subscribe, whatever you do on whatever platform it is, and share it with somebody. If you found it encouraging at all, they don't have to listen to the whole thing. Just say listen from minute 30 to 35, whatever it is. And if they shut it off, that's fine. We do this to make people smile. We do this to inform. We do this to build community and have some fun. So if nobody listens to it, I don't care. I got to meet David, and it was great. So on behalf of Alliance and RE3DTECH, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and God bless.